Hey everybody, welcome back to The Flip Side of Death. I'm your host, Lynn B. Stone, and today I'm going to take a little bit of a twist. So the last few episodes I was kind of scripted, you probably could tell if you were listening, and so this time I wanted to just kind of go off script and just kind of talk about some things that are going on that I think probably need to have a conversation. So I recently went live on my Facebook and had shared a couple of situations that I had just seen recently. And I did that because I just wanted to be in the moment, just kind of really address some things that were going on in the moment that I just wanted to talk about a little bit. And so, unfortunately, those situations really haven't changed. And if you didn't catch my live, that's fine. I can reiterate what's going on. So I've got a few friends from different parts of my life. Someone that I had grown up with as a kid and that I'm still friends with. A couple that I had just met within the last 5 years and have remained close with, and a lady I had just met within this last year. And so each situation kind of has its own thing going on, and so I'll just talk about them real quick. So the person that I've known for pretty much my whole life, their husband wound up going to the hospital. It's probably been about a month ago now, for some issues, and it sounded like it had gotten resolved. And then a couple weeks later, it just kind of continued. And it wasn't so much the issue that they originally went for, but they were having some side effects and some ongoing issues that had kind of come to light. And so whenever they got home, they were having issues communicating. So they could communicate, but the words they were saying were not of any substance. It was all just nonsense. They were talking, but they weren't saying anything productive. So that was the first one. The one that I had, that I've known for a few years, that couple, her husband just started coughing up blood for no reason. And he was everywhere. And they took him to the hospital, had him medically sedated, put him into a medically induced coma. And they never really did find out why he started bleeding. And so he seemed to be doing well. Like it took him a few days to get him off of the respirator and all that stuff. And he seemed like he was in better shape. So they moved him to a rehab facility. Well, then he kind of took a few steps back. And now he's kind of like regressed a little bit. So now we're trying to go forward again. And then the most recent person that I had just met within the last year, I'd seen a post on Facebook, and it was the daughter of my friend telling everyone that her mom had passed away. And it was just so completely unexpected. So those are the three situations I'm going to talk a little bit about today. And the first two that I talked about are kind of all in the same vein, in that the importance of getting your advanced directives and your living wills and your power of attorneys set up. So those are the three pieces that you really need to have. And the advanced directive and the living will are kind of the same thing. I mean, there are some differences, but I do recommend that you get those set up, because that is your voice when your voice is not able to be heard. If you're medically incapacitated, whether you're in a medical induced coma, whether you're on a breathing apparatus that you can't speak because something is breathing for you, and it's there's obstruction, or you've got like mental decline, like your brain is not functioning correctly. So that's why you need those documents in particular, and so your power of attorney is a person that will enforce your wishes. And so that's why you need to have your advanced directive or living will. I've heard it called the 5 wishes. Any of those documents will be fine, or any combination of those things will be fine, because what they do is they outline what you want, the level of care that you want. Do you want a lot of pain medication? Like, do you want to be comfortable? Do you want to be sedated? Do you not want anything? Do you want the assistance of machinery? Some people think about like the do not resuscitate, the DNR, that would kind of classify into this. If you code out for whatever reason, If you have a DNR on file, the hospital will honor your wish and they will not resuscitate you. And so that's really hard when you're in the moment and you're dealing with this with your family, with your loved one. But that's why it's so important that you have these wishes outlined, because they're going to do what they want for themselves, not necessarily what they want for you, because we're selfish. We don't want our loved ones to suffer, but we also don't want to be alone. Like, we don't want our loved ones to leave us. So it's very important that you do these things so that your wishes can be written down and documented. You can give the documents to your power of attorney, which it might be your loved one, it might be your spouse, or your sibling or your adult child, if that's what you choose to do. But I do recommend you do these because they are so critical to making sure that you are getting the best care based on what you think the best care looks like. So that talks about those two in particular. The other one, the friend that just passed away, my goodness, that was such a situation. And it's an ongoing situation, not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, I guess it depends on how you want to look at it. She has other friends that she was very close with, and they're actually the ones who found her. And the trauma that comes with that whole aspect, I mean, those friends will need a lot of therapy to deal with that because they found their friend dead on the floor. From what I understand, CPR was attempted, but until rescue was able to get there, it didn't work. So at that point, she was too far gone. So, unfortunately, I assume that it was one of the friends that called the daughter to give her that message. And, as a parent that has had to make that phone call, I made that phone call, and I had to call my oldest stepson and tell him, and it was heartbreaking. And that in itself is traumatizing. Finding someone you love, whether it's a relationship or like your best friend, like whoever it is, like finding someone you love dead, like it has a lasting impact. I'll just say, I don't know that I had shared this before, but when I found my husband in bed beside me, passed away. I didn't really know. I didn't know much about what was going on other than he was not responsive. He pried open his eyelid because everything I had tried up to that point did not seem like it was annoying enough to wake him up. So I pried open his eyelid to look at his eyes, and he was staring right back at me. I'm like, oh, that's not good. And so I called 911 and I told them that I think my husband's dead. And the dispatcher on the other end, she says, well, have you tried CPR yet? And I said, no, not yet. So I had to pull him off of the bed, which my husband he wasn't a small man. He was 6'2", and probably by that time he was a solid 250, if not a little bit more. I mean, he was a good sized man. And so I had to pull him off of the bed by myself. And adrenaline kind of kicks in, so you really don't think about the weight or the task at hand. But I pulled him off the bed and I started doing CPR. Now, I had been trained in CPR before, so I knew what was supposed to be done. And it was kind of funny because the dispatcher's telling me just push, do compressions. And she's like, just tell me to keep doing compressions. I'm like, no. Like in my mind, I'm thinking, wait a second, compressions, you do however many, and then you stop and you give rescue breaths. So I reverted back to my training. And so I will say, as a side note, if you've never received CPR training, I highly advise that you do CPR and first aid. You can get it through the American Red Cross. There are some other organizations that will do it. Even if you're not quote unquote certified, it doesn't matter. When you can learn how to administer life-saving efforts, like that, it's definitely worth the try. I mean, 'cause I think there are some people that never learn, and then their loved one is right there in front of them actively dying, or has had a stroke or had a heart attack, and they freeze. They don't know what to do. Whereas if you've been trained, like your brain just kind of kicks into it. And that's what happened. My brain was like, all right, we're doing CPR today. Just doing the compressions, doing the rescue breaths. I didn't have to do it long. The fire department was literally 5 minutes around the corner. I had done that until the fire truck and the ambulance had arrived. And then I had to put the dog up and let them in. So they came in, they brought the AED, they hooked him up, and there was nothing. So the AED is meant to detect any type of heart rhythm. And there was nothing. So they didn't even try to shock him. They won't shock if the machine doesn't detect any type of heart rhythm. So it didn't work. And so that was pretty quick. I mean, but I kind of knew that he was already, this was just validation that had happened. So shifting back to the story about my friend, the ladies that found her, the one did start performing CPR. And so I have encouraged them and continue to encourage them to seek the therapy that they'll need to help get past that, because that was a traumatizing event for both of them, finding their friend like that. And then, of course, the phone call that was made to the daughter, and the subsequent Facebook posts, just in complete disbelief about everything that has happened. I mean, and even like people that had talked to her other friends. She was a very outgoing person, and she had a lot of friends. She was also, I think I shared, she's also an author, had been a podcast guest on like 200 different podcasts. So her name was known around the country. She had been a part of different workshops. I mean, she was definitely on a mission. And so her passing was just so quick and immediate and just incredibly shocking. And so I share her story for a couple of reasons. Because had her friends not checked on her, who knows how long it would have been before someone would have found her. Her daughter had reached out to me because of what I do. And she said, did my mom happen to have a will or anything? Do you know anything about this? And I said, when I met her, we had lunch and we talked a little bit about what I did and why I did it and, the backstory and all that, but we really didn't talk about that kind of stuff. And I mean, that's, for me, I'm an advocate for death planning, obviously. And I'm an advocate for getting your stuff in order and, get your wills written and all that stuff. I mean, that's my platform, right? But that's not just I'm not just going to meet someone and then like the next question I have for you is, well, do you have your will done? Are you ready to go? That's just not how normal conversation happens. I mean, and honestly, unless it kind of comes up, I'm not going to broach the subject because that's just not my personality. Now, again, if it comes up in some weird way, I might try to fishtail it in just because, why not? But just to arbitrarily just say, hey, do you have your will done? No, sis, that's not my thing. But I don't know that they ever found a will. And so I think this probably applies to a lot more people than you might think. And that they think that they've got all this time, or situations have happened and their life has changed. And I know at one point she was married. I know she got divorced and she was happily single doing her thing. I mean, I know she was kind of interested in dating, but then there was no one out there that she was really interested in. So, it just wasn't really her thing. But I don't know that she had her stuff in order. And from what I gather from the daughter, it sounds like she didn't. So what that means for them now is that they have to probate everything. They have to get an estate attorney. They have to do all this searching. They have to spend all the money. They have to do all the things that everyone else would normally have to do, except for they're doing it blind. Now, her mom did tell me that they have access to her accounts. Was able to get into her mom's Facebook, so she had that information. So that covers that digital aspect that I talk a lot about. But everything else, like her bank accounts, her insurance policies, her whatevers, like there's no one knows what she has. And the unfortunate thing is, I mean, they'll go through this probate process and they'll spend an inordinate amount of time trying to get that sorted out. So they have the difficulty of dealing with that. The difficulty of going through their mom's personal belongings and trying to figure out what to do with all the stuff that she had. Now, thankfully, she had an apartment, and so it was I think it was like a 1-bedroom apartment. So it wasn't like there was a big space. And I mean, it was a beautiful apartment. I've been there a couple times, and so I don't think that they'll have a whole lot of stuff that they'll have to do with that, but just that they need to do it. That they need to, kind of rummage through her things to figure out her life and, just all the things that she had going on and trying to take care of all that stuff. I mean, it's just, there's so much to that. And it's just a really good reminder to all of us about how important our planning is. And you might think, Lynn, I will get to it. I am working on it. Just calm down a little bit. But I can't. I can't calm down because situations like this are just that reminder that our days are numbered. We just don't know what number we're on. And that's, for my friend, I mean, she was so full of life and she was so excited. She had an event coming up that she was doing a workshop, and it was a weekend workshop, and she had been preparing for, probably the last 6 months, trying to get everything ready for it, getting gift bags and getting the menus, getting the venue, everything set up. And it's not going to happen. And so I think for all of us, again, it's just a really good reminder that we need to make sure that we have our stuff figured out. And so if you're thinking, well, that sounds like a really good idea. I would love to do that. Except for, I don't know where to get started. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to figure it out. And something else, like we can do it for ourselves. We can write down our lives and we can get it all sorted out. And then, of course, if we have a spouse, we can sit down with them and get their side of it. But it's so much more than the documentation, right? It's so much. I mean, the wishes, again, this is where the overwhelm comes in for a lot of people and the anxiety, because there's just so much that goes into it. You can figure out your will and your trust and your insurance policies, and you can do the checklist, you can do all those things. But what these kids are going to have to go through for their mom is so much more than that. They have to do all the bill stuff, like the estate stuff. I talked about that last week, about the estate action plan or for the executors and how to go through that process. That's with directions. Can you imagine trying to do it without directions? And a lot of you might have already done that. Maybe you've done that for a parent, or maybe you've done that for a sibling, or maybe you've done that for a friend. But for those of you who haven't gone through that yet, you just don't even know what you're in for. And I feel so bad for these kids that are now faced with, trying to keep their lives going while they're also trying to sort through their mom's life and trying to wrap it up. And it's heartbreaking. Really, it's very heartbreaking. I feel very bad for them that they have to go through this. And as a spouse, as a widow, having gone through it, I understand some of the roadblocks that are going to face them coming up. And, I've offered my help to them as much as I can. I mean, like I said, I just met her, so I really don't know a whole lot about her either. But just from a supporting standpoint of been there, done that, how can I help you? That's what I'll be there for. But again, I encourage you, if you're hearing this and you're on the fence or you've just been like, yeah, I know, but it's just backburnered, right? Like, I've got other stuff that's more important. I've got other things, like my life is just so busy. I really encourage you guys just to take a couple minutes. I mean, really take it, make an hour, take an hour and just write stuff down. I've got all the checklists. I've got all the things that you need to get started so that you can at least start working on it. Even if it's just a little bit once a week, anything is better than nothing. And I'm sure that these kids, and I call them kids, they're all adults, but they're still kids. These kids are trying to sort out their mom's life, sort out their mom's affairs, and trying to get everything situated. And I think for me, thinking about my kids, thinking about my life and what that would be like for them, I can't even imagine, because it's not just the paperwork, right? It's not just the bills and the accounts and all that stuff. It's so much more. Like, I look around my home, and I've been very blessed over the years to be able to accumulate a bunch of stuff. But if something happens to me, my kids have to go through that, and they have to figure out what to do with it. And maybe even having a question like, what in the world is this? Where did it come from? And so having that background, having the information, like having the directions for them, like, hey, you know what, there's a room full of crap, just toss it. If there's anything in there you want, keep it, but if you don't want it, get rid of it. I don't need it, you don't need it, Someone can use it or just have a really big bonfire in the backyard. I don't care. And a lot of people take that kind of approach. Like, I don't care. I won't be here. It's not a big deal. But it is a big deal. It's a big deal for your kids. It's a big deal for your family to have to deal with your stuff after you're gone. Because what's important to you may not be as important to them. And so trying to figure that out and figure out what, who should get what and why. And I mean, that takes a couple minutes of your time, really. I mean, you can just kind of do like an inventory of a room and say, okay, I've got this in this room. This is an heirloom. I would like this to go to this person. Or this is just junk. If you don't need it, donate it. Or whatever. And just having that really real and honest conversation and with yourself to be able to put it on paper and help your family out. So, with all that said, I do encourage you to take a look at my website. It's www.authorlynnbstone.com. I do have a little store there that you can see all the different products I have. I have my book out there, Till Death Do Us Part, a practical guide to preparing for the inevitable. If you're not really sure where to start, what to do, I do have it. Here's this is what it looks like. You can also get it on Amazon. And that can kind of just outlines like things that you need to think about for your life. And it, that coupled with the checklist that I've created, I mean, it really is a very helpful tool to be able to get your life sorted out so that once it's all, like, you get it all done and then it's done. So at that point, then it's just maintenance, and it's annual maintenance. It doesn't even have to be done every few months. Like, it's like once a year. Just take it off, dust it off. It's like, okay, anything changed? Is this still what I want? So I do encourage you to take a look at that as well. And if you want to have the conversation, but you have people in your life that just are not interested in that conversation, I have the Resistant Conversation Toolkit, which gives you a bunch of different strategies for how to have that conversation and the psychology behind why you're getting the resistance you're getting. I tell you, it's hard whenever I find in relationships you usually have one person that's willing to have the conversation and willing and open-minded and wanting to get everything planned, and then you have one that's like, nope, I don't want to talk about it. And that seems to be pretty common. So that's what that toolkit's for. That group of people, that is who would benefit from that toolkit. And all of the worksheets and all the things, I actually am going to split out the worksheets so that you can access them individually versus needing to get the full toolkit. If it's not that problem, you just need more of an organization. I'm also going to be having a package for the executors so that they know what they need to do, a package for families that have elders that they need to care for and getting them all situated, as well as families that have children that they need to get them situated as well. So I have some different packages that are going to be showing up there. So definitely check out my website and see what fits for you. In the meantime, thank you all so much for being here, and I encourage you to continue to listen to this podcast, listen to the last episodes to see if there's anything that resonates with you. If you get something from this message, please share the podcast with your friends and family, or to those that you think might benefit from this message. And until next time, guys, take care.